And hello, everybody. I am Dr. Alicia, and welcome everybody to this is part five. One, two, three, four, five. Part five of us reading this book entitled "How to Be an Adult in Relationships," and it's 5 keys to mindful loving. This is the Bible on how we need to treat each other, how to be kind and civil to each other. So I really think this is so important that we are diving into this material. I am Dr. Alicia. Here's my website, Coaching with Dr. Alicia. Hello, everybody coming into the chat. And we have been reading from this book. I've been dedicating and setting aside time on Sunday evenings to go through this book. And the reason why I did this was I created a course based on my observations in working with adults and children for the past 30 some odd years. And I've been in the field for 30 years now. And oh my gosh, oh God, that's such a long time ago. But in the work that I've been doing, I realized that there have been some past painful memories that people experience that have an impact on how well people function. And some of these things come up. So because of that, I created this course called The Healing Haven. And it was a 2-day online retreat to talk about how we can recognize and examine and look into how we have been traumatized. And I put the course together. It comes with a workbook. So it is not just you sitting back and listening to me talk. Okay. I'm a therapist. So a lot of what I do is listening. So what I feel comfortable doing is having students for 2 days and to go through some of the workbook and to process and talk about some of the past painful memories or traumatic events that have happened to them. So I put that course together and a couple of years ago, and it has been very successful. I am starting cycle 3 coming soon. And the ticker down here is about me, coachingwithdralicia.com. If you're interested in, you know that you are a survivor of painful experiences, either growing up or currently, you can check out their website and you can join me. And we'll be starting cycle 3 in the next couple of weeks. But I think what's more important today is to get into the material for part 5, right? I really want us to start talking about practices. So the author did a really wonderful job on how to be adults in relationships. We went over the 5 keys to mindful loving, parts 1, 2, 3, and 4. You can find them in the show notes. I went over, if you want to know the keys to mindful loving, you can go and watch those videos. So I want to get right into it because this week we're going to talk about practices. So after the author, David Risho, after he explains what it is that we need to give each other to heal, no matter what your past is, it's never too late to start interacting with people in the way of compassion, right? So he lays out the why, okay? And he goes into a lot of background and history of that. But what I enjoy about today is that we're going to talk about practices because we need to know what to do. And so we'll start here. We're on page 45. So if anybody has the book, you can get it on Kindle. There's an audiobook version. I like the paper book because I'm old school. I don't know if y'all may not be old school, but I personally enjoy reading paper books. So I want to go right into how it all began, page 45. And we're still in chapter 1, and there's so much information here. We got 200 and some odd pages to get through. So there'll be a lot of different versions of this book club. So anyway, he begins on 45 talking about practices that we can do so that we can continue to stay in our adult sense, right? So how to be an adult in relationships requires us to stay in this adult state and not revert back to earlier not to revert back to earlier patterns, not to become childish. Some of us, when we get triggered, and those triggers are reminiscent of past experiences, we let go of being mature adults, and sometimes we act very childish. All of us do it sometimes when we get upset with people, right? So these are different practices that he recommends that we do, so that we can be mindful in how we interact with each other and how we act toward each other. And so one of the first techniques he talks about is daily meditation. Okay. And I like to think about this as like a prayer for those who are religious. I love religion. Individuals who are religious, no matter what type of religion you ascribe to, there's always some sense of prayer. There's always some sense of meditation. And he's recommending as adults we do this, right? So, and he says this is something we need to do on a daily basis. Begin with a few minutes a day and increase to about 20 as an ideal minimum. It is best to sit together as partners. So he's recommending that this prayer meditation is done as a couple. I really think that's pretty awesome. You know, what a great way to bond with your partner is to sit and meditate with your partner. So he's recommending that you do this together. He's also saying that sitting alone is certainly appropriate and valuable as well. So sitting in a quiet space, your eyes can be open, it can be closed, your back straight, your hands on your knees or thigh, and pay attention to your breath. When thoughts or anxieties enter your mind, simply label them as thoughts and return to awareness of your breathing. Do not attempt to stop thinking. It doesn't work, because if you think about stopping to think, then you're still thinking. So that's great. Don't attempt to stop the thinking, just let it pass through. Let's see. The practice requires only that you notice thought. You return to consciousness of your breath. When your meditation ends, try to get up slowly and see if you can maintain the same sense of awareness throughout the day. Eventually, breath becomes more real and more interesting than our stories. I'm telling you, this is very difficult to do. I don't know how many of you all, hi, Dr. Vive. Hi, Miss China Doll. How you doing? This is very difficult to do. I would be surprised if normal adults can sit in meditation for more than 5 minutes. That would be very surprising to me. And it's something that you really need to practice. I meditate mostly in the shower. I build meditations into my daily practice. Sometimes when I'm exercising by myself, or even with my husband, sometimes I will incorporate meditation into quiet moments where I'm by myself. So I do it because I'm very busy. I kind of incorporate it into what I'm really doing. And it is a tough thing to do, to be able to just sit with your thoughts and not indulge them, but to just sit with them and pay attention to what comes up for you. One technique that I do when I'm meditating is that I picture myself sitting in a room on the floor and I'm looking up at a almost like I'm in a movie theater and I'm looking at a blank piece of paper, or a blank wall that's totally white. And I'm just sitting there looking at this wall that's white. There's nothing on it. And I just focus on that. Now that does it for me. I'm able to get to a place where I can practice doing that for an extended period of time. But when I first began doing frequent meditations, it was really difficult for me to quiet my mind down so that I can do this. So it's interesting that the very first practice that that they allude to in this text is for you to practice meditation to get up to 20 minutes. That's a lot, right? Sometimes it means that you have to restructure your life. We're all kind of just moving along in life and we don't have time to stop and think. sometimes we're afraid to stop and think because if we stop and think, sometimes we are unconsciously nervous about what will come up for you. And I will tell you that when you meditate and when you get into your thoughts, things will come up for you. So you need to be prepared for that. But I think as adults, we're ready for it. And it's a great way of controlling your thoughts. So I think the daily meditation is excellent. I mean, whether if you don't do anything else from watching this video, I really think that meditation is something that all of us need to be able to pick up on and to do. And he's just talking about, I say start for, he's saying 5 minutes and work your way up to 20 minutes. I think that practice doing it for 2 minutes. I guarantee you, you are not going to be able to focus on thinking about nothing for 2 minutes. I'll be surprised if you do. So it's very difficult to do, but with practice, you can start doing that. So daily meditations, excellent practice that all of us need to do in order to be adults in relationships. So the second practice is loving kindness. Wow. Loving kindness. He talks about for partners to engage in building heartfulness. Loving kindness is a Buddhist practice, also called metta. That's interesting. Metta. Metta is also a word of the new word of Facebook. And it's interesting that Facebook would pick up a name like Meta. I'm certain they did the research on that. And if I think about it harder, I would wonder what the relationship with Meta and Meta in the Buddhist sense they're trying to duplicate. That's really interesting. But Buddhist practice is called metta, and metta means loving kindness. It's based on the premise that we all want the same thing. We all want happiness. That is really interesting. So if you are a corporation and you want to name your corporation out of something based on something fabulous, why not name your corporation off of the definition of happiness? So metta means happiness in Buddhist practice. I would venture to say, I bet you the founder of Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, and his wife, I bet you they're Buddhist. So if I was trying to change the name of my company away from Facebook, I would definitely name it Happiness. That would be my, that would be something brilliant that I would do. And, I think that naming something means a lot. And I was watching this TV show called Mad Men, and it's like people on Madison Avenue. I don't know if you ever watched that show, Mad Men, but they talked about advertising, and he talked about we're selling happiness. That's what we're selling. We're not selling shoes. We're not selling cigarettes. We're not selling McDonald's. We're selling happiness. And so that's kind of interesting. Anyway, here's a simple format for this practice. Sit quietly and imagine yourself filled with joy, love, compassion, all of the qualities of the Buddhist. Affirm each of them in yourself, then send them to a widening circle of people until you have included the whole world in your heartful wishes. Say to yourself, may I be joyful, may those I love be joyful, and so forth. Begin with those who love you. Oh, is there static coming? Okay, something with my audio. I don't know how to fix it. Let me see. Thank you for letting me know. Let me check my audio. Okay. Well, I have my Yeti microphone, so I don't know. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Has it gotten a little better? I don't know. So we're going to keep going. I don't know how to fix audio. Hopefully it will clear up. Okay. So next, add the category of people who do not like you or that you dislike. So they're saying all of the people you see on a daily basis, present them with joy, love, compassion, right? And beam joy to the world. All things being great and small, our heart thereby expands to its full dimensions. Yeah, I do this a lot. Sometimes when I meditate, and I'm in this room, this dark room with a big screen in front of me, a big white screen, and I am just looking at this blank screen and I'm sitting and thinking about nothing really. I do imagine in my head a white light coming out of me and expanding all around. So I do that sort of visualization. And it's, for me, it's a white light of protection. So I definitely do it with my children. Just, I have a 21-year-old and he goes out to Chicago and parties and party and all of that. And I don't want to stop him from doing that, but I will just meditate, stop, and then send him like a prayer for meditation where he is drenched in light. And to me, that's the light of protection. I do what I can so I don't have to be all worried about what my baby's doing. So anyway, that's something that I do. And in that white light is joy, love, and compassion. So this is interesting. He thinks this loving kindness is what we all need. Good Lord, we definitely need loving kindness. Okay. And then he says, notice any resistance as you move down the list of people in your life. Do not attempt to root out the resistance. Commit yourself to a stalwart intention to love. The resistance will diminish. Okay, so think about who kind of gets on your nerves. Even those you don't like, you can also send them love and light and peace and compassion. You can have compassion for those who bother you, right? Something will change in you as you wish love and joy to people you don't know, and even your enemies. This practice shows us that our life purpose is about more than our own well-being. We are acknowledging that our own needs are not all that matters. It is not always about what you need. Think about some of the people who bother you. They have unmet needs too. On some level, I'm certain they're hurting. Why would they come across in such an abrasive way sometimes, right? The well-being of our fellow humans matter too, and we are beaming it to them from our awakened heart. There is no limit to our love, the possibility of possibilities. When you do this practice daily, it can also kick in when you meet someone who triggers you negatively. It's not that person's fault if they trigger you negatively. It's not them, it's you. It's something about them that brings this up in you, right? And we can understand that, right? I know when people bother me, I know what it is because I have a story about, like, I don't want to get into it, but there are things that really bother me, right? And sometimes it's not about them. It's about what they bring up in me. And I pay attention to that. Again, it's not that you ignore them. You just send them love and move on, right? You love them. And then you're like, okay, that's not my kind of person, right? When you do this practice daily, it kicks in, right? Even someone who triggers you negatively, you may hear yourself saying, may he open to the light. Aspirations as this do not mean we are approving negative behavior, only that we appreciate everyone's limitations and potential for growth. This is another way of never giving up on someone, which is the crown jewel in the heart of love. I really enjoy this. I think this is spot on, and I think this is how we need to start treating people and thinking about things that bother us. I also think that a lot of this, and I don't know what type of media you guys come in contact with, but I love listening to music that's positive. And it, for some reason, always just puts me in a really good mood. So music and the things that I come in contact with, I listen to a lot of medicine music. It's very spiritual. It's very positive. It just keeps me adhering to what I'd like my world to be. and what I'd like to experience in other people. So I pay attention to the things around me, particularly music. Anyway, so the next practice he wants you to think about is letting go of control. Healthy control means ordering our lives in responsible ways. For example, by maintaining control of your car or our health. Okay, so I like this because you can only control yourself. Like if you buy a car, it's your responsibility to make sure that car is maintained, right? You can control that, things that affect you, right? If it doesn't affect you and it's out of your hands, and a lot of things are, we need to let go of that control and think about, okay, I can only control my behavior and what I do. I can't control what other people do. Now, you can influence what other people do. You can invite people to treat you a certain way. You can ask people and become curious about things that they're doing to raise awareness about what they're doing, but you can't control what another person does. You can only control yourself. I think that's a great reminder here, but you need to keep that in your mind, right? Neurotic control means acting on the compulsive need to make everything and everyone comply to your wishes. Other people's problems is not yours to solve. And it's interesting because even as a therapist, it is not my job to solve people's problems. Do not believe that it is the job of a therapist to tell you what to do. I was just meeting with a group of students, not students, but a group of professionals, and I was doing supervision so that they can get their clinical license. I do supervision with individuals seeking their clinical license. And I spent the entire evening today talking about stop giving advice. They already know what to do. Explore with them. Explore with them how they feel, what got them into this situation. Allow them to have some sort of self-awareness before you start just throwing out advice and giving them advice. That doesn't help them, right? So you have to just not be in control. And even as a therapist, I'm not in control what clients do and what individuals do. I talk to them about the consequences, but they can choose, they can go any way they want to go. It has nothing to do with me. I'm here as a therapist to help people process the choices that they do make and to have insights into what led them to make the decisions that they made and if it works for them. If it doesn't work for them, then perhaps they should think about choosing other ways of behaving. So, that's one thing that I do. I don't want to take on the responsibility of grown adults or even children. They need to know the consequences. So I love this issue about control. Let's see, control. We were not able to say, oh, yeah. So he talks about control is what we decided to seek when we noticed the implacable givings of our existence and felt helpless in the face of them. We were not able to say, I will stay with this predicament and see what it has to offer me. I notice I seem to get stronger this way. Saying yes to our experience in this mindful way leads to empowerment of our heart to love more and fear less. Yes, it is so fascinating that we get into this way of fixing things and making sure that all of the possibilities that could happen with the outcome, that we need to be able to control all those possibilities. That causes lots of anxiety because people are like, what ifs? What if this happens? What if that happens? And you get into this place of fear. And he talks about when you just start to let go and know that there's a natural order of things. I mean, it is almost like being a little fatalistic about how you see the world. It is a little fatalistic, but you have to know that everything will fall out the way it's supposed to be. And you agonizing over controlling the outcome is not going to help you anyway, right? So can you make a decision, a commitment to be less controlling and to dedicate yourself to this as your ongoing project? And the really interesting part is that letting go of control is actually a way of gaining control. So what do I mean by that? like I was working with, suppose I'm working with a client, for instance, and they have a headache, right? And they're like, oh my God, is this a headache? Or they start looking it up on WebMD. It could be a brain tumor. It could be all of these things, all of these things. And I said, listen, all of this could be possible, right? All of this is possible. So let's let go of this, let go of the end result of what could happen just because you have a headache. But and it is possible that it could be nothing. And it's possible that it could be a migraine. It's possible that it could be a tumor. All of that is possible. But right now, you don't have control over that. It is what it is. And so you can control, picking up the phone and calling the doctor, taking some medication. Just focus on what you can control and not the outcome of it. Right. And you dedicate yourself, and letting go can just say, it is always possible that these outcomes could happen, but I'm just going to stay committed to what I can do to search and make sure I'm healthy. Right. And once you go through the channels of being healthy, and you know that it's just a migraine and you need to take some medication to help it, you have to trust the doctors too. So some people can just want to control everything. If it's this, sometimes you have to let it go and put your trust in some professionals, because that's the best you can do, right? Okay. Letting go is actually controlling what's happening. Opening up to feedback. When you are committed to the work of making yourself a more loving person, and by the way, the more loving you are, the more lovable you are, the more likely you are to find love. So people want love in their life. They have to, number one, be more loving. You have to be a loving person. And my mom used to tell me, I was like, oh, Mom, I'm going to camp. What do I do to make friends? And she said, you have to be a friend. If you want to make friends, you need to be a friend to somebody. And so it's the same thing with being loving. If you want a loving world and you want someone that you can love, you have to be a loving person, a lovable person, right? When you are committed to the work of making yourself a more loving person, you no longer rely on your own brain for all your information. You are happy to learn about yourself from your partner or anyone else you trust. You are open to find out how you appear to those who see your shadow or dark side. All of us, anybody in a relationship, I know Dr. Vibe, you're married, anybody who's in a relationship, your partner is going to know your dark side. Your partner is going to know all the things that you need to work on that you haven't observed, right? So your partner is going to know your dark side. You want to be exposed so you can drop your poses and let your authentic self emerge. You welcome feedback about how others are affected by you. Always welcome feedback. And I love this because this is how you gain self-awareness. This is how you learn about yourself, is you listen to what other people say. So you do need to be in a position where you're open to feedback from your loved ones. You say, if someone comes to you with a complaint, you sit down and you really need to listen to it, right? If they have a complaint about you, you need to listen to that and be committed to their complaint, because they could be letting you know about some blind spots. They can be letting you know about some things that you don't see, that other people see. And it's usually the person closest to you, like your partner or your mother or your child, adult child, of course. They can let you know exactly the effect you have on other people that you may not be aware of. So the self-awareness is important. So this being open to feedback is a commitment to working on yourself. A whole point of these practices includes this openness to feedback. Okay. And they quote that the ancients were always so glad to hear of their mistakes. We all make mistakes. And guess what? It's okay, because recognizing that you've made a mistake is how you get better, right? To to make a mistake means you're a human being like everybody else. No one is absent of mistakes. And so the thing is to always be open to feedback so that you can be better, right? So that you can learn about yourself. It doesn't mean that you're always going to be perfect. It just means you're going to learn about yourself better. And that's always important when you want to be mindful. You have to be mindful with how you come across to people. You could be inadvertently coming across to people in a way that you didn't intend, right? So being open to feedback is important. If you find that your ego cannot tolerate being called to task or shown to be inadequate or wrong, then the work begins here. So it's this willingness to let go of the ego. I commit myself to find some truth in any feedback I receive. Yeah, there's some truth to everything. Hello, baby love. How you doing? Baby love. I love that. So I'm sure baby love is lovable. That's a very lovable name. So anyway, we're talking about practices here in this book. How to be an adult in relationships. These are the 5 keys to mindful loving. Today, we are actually giving you things that you can do, tangible things that you can do to demonstrate how to respond to people, how to interact with people in a way that is mature. And I think that the issue I'm coming across is that people can be very childish and very immature with how they interact with each other. I am Dr. Alicia. I also want to tell you about texting love, LOVE, to 87948, and you'll get some information from me, and you'll also get some information from my husband, Dr. Boyce. And text the word love to 87948, and you'll be kept abreast about what's happening with Dr. Boyce and myself. Also, I am doing my Healing Haven group treatment program, and you can go to About Me, coachingwithdralicia.com, and you can sign up there, put your information in there. You take the ACEs test, and then you sign up for a meeting that I'm going to have where I'm going to describe your results of the ACEs score, which is Adverse Childhood Experiences Survey. You get a trauma score, and we'll spend some time together interpreting them. So it's pretty cool. I'm going to keep the ticker down there. I'll keep love, LOVE, to 87948. I'll keep that up there for a while so that we all can, in case some other people come in. Okay, Marshall. Welcome, Marshall. Welcome, Dr. Vibe. Dr. Vibe. We got to talk. Reach out to me. We got to talk to each other. Okay, so today we're talking about practices, things that we can do. Some of the things we can do, a step toward achieving this willingness to be open, right? Ask your partner to describe something that has been upsetting to them, and notice when you are judging what that person is saying. Wanting to control their reactions, feeling afraid for them, wanting to fix your partner, and so forth. Acknowledge each of these reactions as ego distractions and return to listening openly. Woo! Nothing hurts more than hearing a critique or hearing a complaint from your partner. Y'all, what happens when your partner complains about you? Everybody's entitled to their complaints, right? When your partner has finished, tell your partner what distractions came up for you. What came up for you? What interrupted you in your mindful hearing? Because as they're complaining about you, pay attention to your body. How are you feeling when you're hearing this complaint? I know sometimes I'll have a complaint about my husband, and he'll look at me and go, "My head hurts." And I'm like, okay, I get that your head hurts, but when your head stops hurting, I'm going to continue with my complaint, because all healthy relationships have complaints. If you don't have a complaint about your partner, then I don't think that relationship is healthy. Anyway, that's what I know to be true based on my experience. Make a commitment to notice what's going on for you in future conversations. You can commit yourself to listening with your heart. How can that happen? By mindfulness habit. You are building in meditation by returning to your breath, undistracted by mindsets. Let me tell you, I've been watching these dating shows. I've been watching 90 Day Fiance. I've been watching Married at First Sight. And my daughter has been looking at Love Island. I can't with Love Island. But these are the most childish individuals on all these shows, right? And I think it's quite fascinating how people they get on TV and they just start reacting to each other, and they become very childish, and they're not listening very well, and that all these insecurities come out, and all of these personalities. And I just really wonder what the producers are thinking when they pick people to come on these shows, because you can very well tell who would do well on these shows, and who's dramatic and emotional and reactive, that make the show. And I don't think it's a very healthy thing. It's a very toxic display of relationships. And there's no professional that's coming in there to kind of mediate some of this stuff and to stop some of the abuse that I'm watching on the show. Very toxic behaviors on all three of those shows. It just boggles my mind that this is allowed to happen. And it causes a lot of distress for people, particularly online. But anyway, very interesting about these dating shows. Here is a practice that uses mindfulness and heartfulness to respond appreciatively and yet self-protectives when someone gives you critical feedback. Someone gives you critical feedback, right? It's a gift. If your partner complains about you, that is a gift. Approach any person who has an issue with you with a conscious intention to give them the 5 A's. What are the 5 A's? Do y'all know? We talked about it in, I think, book club meeting number 3 and 4. Attention, appreciation, acceptance, affection, and allowance. That's how you need to approach somebody when they critique you, when they complain, particularly if it's a partner. Their complaint is a gift. Say this aloud to the other person and maintain it in your heart as he or she speaks. It describes a profoundly loving way to listen. Useful at any time of life and in all communication. So he's about to lay out to you all of the different ways that you need to listen when somebody gives you the gift of a complaint, feedback to you. That is a gift. I'm going to tell you, I'm also listening to this podcast. Y'all listen to this podcast called Betrayal. And it's about, really, so far that I'm listening to season 3, and it's all about how these women get in this relationship with men, and it is like a fairy tale romance, and he sweeps her off her feet, and then come to find out he's doing all this devious stuff behind the scenes, right? And I think what's interesting to me is that the women who they interview are getting up on the podcast, and they also, I think Hulu also does a few episodes of it too. They get on there and they say, we had the perfect marriage. Everything was perfect. Everything was beautiful. And as soon as people say that, that lets me know immediately there's something wrong, because all healthy relationships have issues. And if you are in a relationship and you are not receiving feedback, you're not receiving complaints from your partner, then you need to be careful. That's not the person you need to trust. A sign of trustworthiness in a relationship is being in a relationship with somebody who gives you the gift of complaint. I welcome complaints from my partner. Dang, I must have been, what happened with the light? I must have been speaking it, right? I welcome complaints from my partner. Um, because that means that my partner wants to connect with me. If my husband complains about me, that means he loves me. I'm like, oh, you're complaining about me. Tell me what I did. Come and tell me. And I listen. So that's a sign of love. To complain to your partner is a sign of love. When they don't like you, they don't even care enough to even tell you that they don't, that you get on their nerves, right? That, they don't even care enough. They just ghost you, right? So the sign of a healthy relationship is a complaint, and you have to be there to listen. And you have to be there to really understand them more, because what they're trying to do when they come to you with a complaint is they're trying to connect with you. And that's how you have intimacy in a relationship, is through the complaint. Oh my God, I totally see. I wasn't even thinking. And it's funny because it's not even your intention to bother them. It's just you being you, but it's nice to know the effect that you have on the person that you love. Okay, let's move on. So what they're saying is, this is how you need to listen to your partner when they complain about you. Y'all want to know? Here it is. Number one, I am paying close attention to you now. Let me tell you. My husband comes to me and says, Alicia, I have a complaint. That's it. I stop everything. I mean, unless I have a client session or someone's paying for my time, I'm going to stop everything and say, oh my goodness, what is it? You pay close attention. I put my phone down. I'm not doing anything else. I'm giving them my full undivided attention because that person has something that they want to say to me. Your partner in particular. I accept you as you are in this moment. I allow you to be yourself. I appreciate you for what you have been and are. I have a real affection for you no matter what. So it's not about getting mad at somebody, right? For complaining, right? Establish eye contact while really listening mindfully without defensiveness. Defensiveness is a learned reaction. And people learn it as a child. If you felt shamed as a child and you felt bad about yourself as a child, you also learn to be defensive. So you have to check yourself on that. You have to talk to yourself about that. You need to acknowledge the impact you have had on the other person and the feelings you aroused in that person. Do not use denial to protect yourself. Do not minimize or discount your impact by contrasting it with your good intentions. The impact matters more than the intention. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, right? Because you need to focus not on the attention, but you need to focus on the impact of your behavior on someone. Okay? Commit yourself to taking what the other person says as information, not as censor. You're not going to dismiss it. You're going to take it as information. Okay? Speak up, however, if the feedback includes blame, insult, ridicule, or put down. You will not permit that when you're taking care of yourself. So you say, you know what? Can you say that again where you're not calling me names? Can you say that again where you're not putting me down? Can you give me an example? Be illustrative and what you're talking about instead of putting me down, because I really want to hear. So you can say, okay, when you call me names, it makes it so that I can't understand or hear what you're saying. Let's practice saying that again to each other in a way that's more friendly. All right. You can invite that person, or if they won't stop, then you could say, this conversation is over. I do want to hear your complaint, but I'm not going to be called names. You can set boundaries and say, we will come back to this when you're ready to talk to me like an adult, right? Well, don't say that, because then that's kind of condescending. You're talking like a child. Don't say that, okay? This is not for you to point the finger back at someone else and tell them they're being childish. They are, but that's not for you to do that. That doesn't help. It's not going to help the situation when you do that. Make amends when appropriate, design a plan to change, and ask for help. This is really simple stuff, right? This practice instills the virtue of humility and makes you more open and endearing. And that's how you listen. Yeah. So that helps you to be able to listen without being reactive. I was listening to a podcast, not a podcast, it was a video on Instagram, and they're interviewing this guy, and the question to this guy was, how do you know when a relationship is over? And his response was, oh, I know a relationship is over when I don't have peace anymore, and my partner is not making me happy, and I'm dissatisfied, and they're complaining about me. That's when I know it's over, and I don't feel good around them. And I just couldn't help but to think, like, how are you allowing growth in this relationship when you don't even want to be in a relationship with somebody that could be honest and transparent with you, that can tell you about your shortcomings? I just found that answer, and I think I made a comment underneath, like, nah, that's not it. That's not it. I don't like to get into internet beefs, but I do assert myself because there's so much bad advice given on the internet, and it comes from people like, if I don't feel good around you, then I'm ready to leave the relationship. Well, what else is there? What more is there? What is that person telling you that you don't know about yourself? You should become more curious and listen better. So I don't know. I did not agree with that. Okay, heartful communication. This is how we listen, right? We need to have heartful communication. We are attuning to the other person's needs and feelings, often unspoken. This heartful listening means commitment to compassion, caring, and connection. Compassion means we are touched by someone's needs and vulnerability. We feel genuine empathy if the other is in pain. We are holding that person's story mindfully, that is, without judgment. So compassion is really empathy, being able to understand. It does not mean you agree with them. It means you're trying to understand and be empathetic and not judging them, of course, right? Caring. The other person counts. And the other person matters to us. Yes, as children, the best strategy you can do with children is to listen to their thoughts and feelings and encourage them to share their thoughts and feelings, because that's how they think that they matter. That's how they know that they're significant, because they are allowed to share. And that's what caring means, just allowing that other person to really share. We are on board for joining in the work of addressing, processing, and resolving any conflicts that might arise. And there's no other way to do that unless you care, show that you care about the other person. We sincerely want the best to happen for the other. We are open to the vulnerability this may require of us. Yes, caring does not mean you need to fix their problem. Caring means that you wish the best for them. But it's not your position to jump in and fix people as they're sharing something. Hey, Norman, I see your question. You have a question? I'm going to put it up here. Dr. Watkins, a talk that can unravel some insight in the dynamics of my relationship with my family members. Dysfunctional, to say the best. Not that I'm claiming to be untarnished in any way. A talk that can unravel. Yeah, talks can unravel pretty quickly because people get so triggered. They're hearing something and they disagree with it and they want to react to it. But you have to refrain from that. It takes practice. It takes mindful practice, meditating, all of these things, so that you're not reacting to it. Let everybody, I think what I had to do with my family, we would have like a pen. We'd have like a pen. And so that we know that people were listening to each other. The person holding the pen is the only person that can talk. And the job of everybody else without the pen is just to listen. And it's really hard to do, but it was something that I did in my with my kids, because everybody was talking over each other. It was like really getting bothersome. And it helped because it was like, okay, rule for talking at dinner. The person with the pen is the person that can talk, right? And so that helps things from getting unraveled. And sometimes it can just fall apart, Norman. It can happen, but never give up. Never give up on giving. You can make the change, Norman. You can say, hold on, let's all listen to Aunt Betty. Let's all listen to Aunt Betty is sharing something and we're talking over her. We're reacting to what she's saying, but I'm not certain that we're listening to her. So can we all just let Aunt Betty share? I mean, you could be the person and you'd be surprised how much of a positive effect that could have on your family. So you're the one, Norman. You're the one. You're the one. Okay. So we talked about caring. Oh, connection. We are companions, not fixers. We look together with the other person at her or his predicament. Yeah, so we're not here to fix anybody. That's not my job as a therapist. I am not going to tell you what to do. What I do with couples is that I do a presentation and I talk about here's what healthy relationships look like. And here you are, compared to the healthy relationship. What do you think about that? What's the dynamic there? What's going on? And we can talk about these things, but it's not my job to tell somebody what to do. I present things. Happy couples do this. Healthy couples do this. And unhealthy couples do this. And so decide what you want to be. And I can help you get there. So I do guide people, but I'm not telling you what to do, how to do it. I can tell you, like, here are the keys to doing it. So, okay, here we go. Connection. We are companions, not fixers. We look together with the other person. We are with, beside the other, not above or beyond, right? You're not the authority in everything, right? We know we might have the same anxiety that they have. We know we have a similar pain. We know we can or have made similar mistakes. We check in with the other. Yes. So as somebody's sharing things with you, sometimes you're like, God, that happened to me. I remember that. And you want to jump in and share your own story that's pretty similar to what they're sharing. And you have to resist the urge to interrupt and to jump in and talk about how you had something similar. I learned how to love effectively by hearing from you, how my way of loving comes through to you. So please tell me truly. This depth listening and depth opening, a spiritual meeting of heart to heart, the only meeting in which true connection can happen. I am listening is my name now. Heart presence turns out to be the best atmosphere in which love can bud and blossom. Heart listening is also an essential component of the hero on the journey. We do not walk the path unless it is with a listening heart. Walking the path is what you do with your ears by listening. All the references is about hearing and your heart. That's how you connect with somebody. That's how you treat people that you love, that you want that person to love you. The best thing to do is to be an active listener. Body listening. So here's another way. We notice sensations in our own body as we sit with the other person. Yeah, we're trained to do that, right? We are aware of how we are holding his or her truth, needs, feelings. Where in our own body do we feel their impact? We notice whether we are comfortable or anxious as our time together proceeds. In either instance, we show our body language. We show in our body language a welcoming. I am arching towards you, not pulling away. I am not scared off by your woe. I can be trusted to accompany you through thick and thin. This is the essence of intimacy. Yes. Yes. Okay. When we combine the three forms of listening, only your presence is enough to create trust and open a path to contentment. Finally, in mindfulness, we can learn to listen to others as we listen to songbirds. No judgment, only appreciation of diversity. When our loving the birds, as St. Francis did, adds the heart dimension. Okay, so if you want to make somebody fall in love with you, you do not need to buy them flowers. You need to buy them your undivided attention. I think that's the lesson. Giving them your ear with an open heart is how you demonstrate love. It does not cost you anything, but maybe 20 minutes out of your day. I think that's what we learned today. All right, everyone. I think that's enough for today. I am going to finish up my night here. And I'm going to invite you all, if you want to reach out to me, you can. If you want to text love to 87948, you can get information from me. You can also get, I think it's my husband's ebook, Financial Lovemaking. If you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm at Coaching with Dr. Alicia. Let's see, my website is coachingwithdralicia.com. You can go there to fill out. I can work with couples, and I also work with individuals. You can go there to fill that out. Also, I'm doing cycle 3 of my Healing Haven. It's starting up in August. August 18th is when it starts. And go to this website, aboutme.coachingwithdralicia.com. Go there and fill out the information. Take the ACEs test and sign up for my meeting. We're going to talk about what your ACEs score means. And then we're going to learn some things. I'm going to give you some tools to take with you that you can learn, something that it won't be, maybe I'll post it on YouTube. I'm not certain how we're going to do that, but it's a Healing Haven Circle meeting that I'm going to have. I'm going to open it up to anybody that wants to come in and talk about how to become an adult in relationships. David Risho, thank you so much for writing this book. I think it's amazing. And we'll keep it going. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I will see you next week. I'll be available next week. I don't have anything going on, so I'll be around. And then we'll finish chapter 1. We're just on chapter 1. Oh, my goodness. So we'll finish chapter 1 next week. And I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.